Coming to the Standing Committee, Judiciary and Civil and Criminal Jurisprudence, will now be called to order. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Schroer,
Here.
Gregory 15, here. Brown 26, Berger, May, Roberts, here. Schnelting. Here.
Having a quorum, we're going to proceed. The first bill that we have is going to be a rundown just as they're listed on the hearing notice with Senate Bill 904 first. As Senator Gregory is taking the stand and preparing for his presentation, let me remind everyone that to testify, the presenters will have 3 minutes, and then each witness for and against, you'll have 5 minutes for your first character witnesses, and then thereafter 3 minutes. If we get close to the last 20 minutes of hearing, it's going to be up to my discretion. If we hear a lot of redundant testimony, I'm going to try to speed it up. And we'll try to remind everybody to stay on time. If you go a little bit over, just try to wrap up your thoughts as the timer goes. With that, these bills, all of them, I believe, have been around for a very long time. Some of these bills have been around for over 10 years. So this should be no shock to anybody with the testimony that we're going to hear today and the presentations. Senate Bill 904 by Senator Gregory from the 15th. You can proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, David Gregory, Senate 15, St. Louis County. Before you is Senate Bill 904, the ICCA bill. For several years now, we've heard from our law enforcement, child advocates, and our state's Poison Control Center about the dangers of unregulated cannabis products in gas stations. News reports of children and teens right here in Missouri that are being hospitalized by these intoxicating products. We're seeing them all the time. And the saddest part is that some of these packages are made to look like popular candy and popular kids' snacks. It's time to put an end to it. And thankfully, just a few months ago, the federal government did just that by closing the so-called hemp loophole. Now it's time for us to ensure the safety of our kids, regardless of what Congress did and or will be doing in the future. And we need to prohibit intoxicating cannabis from being sold anywhere except for the way our voters designed it and requested it be sold. And that's exactly what this bill seeks to do. With that, I will take any questions.
Any questions for the sponsor?
Very briefly.
Proceed.
Thank you. On page 23, giving you the authority of the Attorney General's office, the ability to prosecute these types of cases. Do you know if anyone from the AG's office is here to testify today?
I don't,
Okay.
but happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
That's all fine. If they're not here, I can reach out to their office. I just had some concerns about that section.
Okay.
But if they're not here today, then I'll just reach out to them outside of this. Thank you,
problem.
Senator.
No problem.
Further questions? Senator, I know that the Missouri Veterans Commission Executive Director is at the Governor's Prayer Breakfast. Do you know what testimony they were going to have, or can you provide that once if they can't make it today, can you provide their written testimony to the committee?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get a written statement from them.
Any further questions? Seeing none. First witness in support, and we're going to alternate here. We're going to go from for and against. So for support, Mr. Robbins, please come forward. You have 5 minutes with your testimony in support of Senate Bill 904.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the committee. Tom Robbins from Okan Trade, very much in support of Senator Gregory's Senate Bill 904. First, much thanks to Senator Gregory for making this his top priority this year. Also want to extend thanks to Governor Kehoe, who included this issue as a priority in his State of the State address yesterday, and also for Attorney General Hanaway's comments and investigations surrounding this issue. It's very clearly a top priority for both of them. So for the last 3 years, the ICCA's purpose was to align Missouri law with Congress's intent when they passed the 2018 Farm Bill, as clearly reflected in the congressional record. Congress's intent was to deregulate the non-intoxicating part of the cannabis plant, which is hemp, from the intoxicating parts of the cannabis plant, which is known as marijuana. Due to marijuana's lack of research, largely because it remains Schedule I status, Congress established a faulty threshold of 0.3% Delta-9 THC by dry weight. What they didn't realize was when deregulating all the downstream derivatives of hemp, there existed a whole universe of other minor deltas naturally occurring in trace amounts on the hemp side that bent scientists figured out they could chemically convert into synthetic marijuana. So, in result, our state has experienced a proliferation of untested, unsafe, intoxicating THC products sold outside the regulated market, often packaged as candy, attractive to children, resulting in a rash of hospitalizations. The two support witnesses that follow can provide more color there. So let's fast forward to November of last year. Congress finally delivered and amended the Farm Bill language to align with their original intent in 2018, as we've been representing, to better distinguish intoxicating versus non-intoxicating cannabis products. This redefinition of hemp is the crux of it, and it has two parts. It amends the 0.3% previously Delta-9 THC to 0.3% total THC to encompass workarounds with Delta-8, Delta-10, and THCA. And so as to avoid complicated calculations that could be manipulated, they set an express limit of 0.4 milligrams total THC max per container of any such product, and also ban synthetic conversions, which credit to our marijuana program, the program did that years ago for safety concerns. So Senate Bill 904 essentially just codifies what Congress has done. Plus, it adds robust enforcement language, granting the AG primary jurisdiction, concurrent jurisdiction with DHSS, DPS, ATC, the Highway Patrol, and local governments. It precludes unlicensed retailers from calling themselves dispensaries. Unlicensed retailers of cannabinoid products, like if you sell popcorn, you can call yourself a dispensary. That's not included here. It enables use of the new state reference lab. And then it also has some privacy protections that were specifically requested by Senator Carter's office. So some of the misconceptions that are floating around, if the federal law bans all these products come November 12th, why do we need the ICCA? And in a single word, it's enforcement. So inaction will equal little to no enforcement. State and local law enforcement are, principally in the business of enforcing state law, not federal law. And so, but also in the absence of action and passing this, we would onboard ambiguity, the very thing that Congress sought to close and remove the ambiguity. If we don't update our hemp's definition to what the feds do, we will become a mecca for organized crime, including Chinese nationals, to come here and set up shop and take advantage of that gray area that our inaction would produce. And then you're probably going to hear from the wholesalers who are looking for other items to carry. They want a lane for hemp-derived drinks. The reality is the Supremacy Clause forbids states from rewriting what is federal law. And so you can't, essentially what a carve-out above 0.4 milligrams would do is it would be the state of Missouri calling something hemp that the feds have now defined as marijuana, because that's functionally what they did, is they said no matter where it's from, if its output, if its final form is 0.3% total THC or in a finished product above 0.4 milligrams, it's marijuana. Albeit sometimes synthetic, it's marijuana and should be regulated as marijuana. Doesn't matter. Like ATC doesn't differently regulate whiskey that comes from corn versus some other source. And so then there will be the question, marijuana is federally illegal. Sure. So the difference is Article 14 is simply a direction to state and local actors to not enforce federal law. That's it. We're not rewriting it. We're not calling something that the feds say is marijuana hemp. We're just simply directing law enforcement not to enforce federal law. So
your time has expired. A couple seconds to wrap up, if need be.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
I know this bill's been around for a number of years. I've had it for a number of years. Senator Gregory, the other Senator Gregory, the bigger one, had that for a number of years. What are the biggest differences? I know you mentioned popcorn, the dispensary name change that was brought up last year. That was an amendment that was made. The privacy shield for Second Amendment and marijuana card holders to make sure the feds can't get that and come after these gun owners. What were the other major changes that we've seen from just last year?
That really just the meat of it is codifying federal law, which was in essence has done essentially what the ICCA in all its different forms where it was intended to do, which is divide that which is non-intoxicating from the cannabis plant, call it hemp, and keep it deregulated in the 2018 Farm Bill. And so Congress gave us the definition for what intoxicating is, and set a threshold of the 0.3% total THC plus 0.4 milligrams per container. So all from the beginning, starting with then Representative Gregory, the ICCA has always stood for the proposition that you divide these things, and regardless of its origin, if its final form is marijuana, then it should be regulated as marijuana.
And I know you already kind of answered the clarification on why this bill is needed, because there's a lot of rumors in the building that, hey, if we don't do anything, the federal law will kick in after a year. All these products are going to be banned. But you were discussing enforcement. I've read some information. I forget what state. They had a lot of Chinese nationals coming in.
Yeah.
Is that something that you fear, if we don't take action, is going to occur in Missouri?
Right, yeah, I mean, it passed this prologue. There are reports of Chinese nationals infiltrating Maine, Michigan, and our neighbor, Oklahoma, which is where a lot of the illicit products come from, and what they share in common is under regulation of a Schedule I substance. So, yes, that is a concern. But the biggest concern is just that it will go unenforced if it's only in federal law. So in order to ensure enforcement and not become a mecca for gangsters, we need to pass the ICCA.
No gangsters. We don't like gangsters. Any further questions, further discussion? Seeing none.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins. First witness in opposition.
One other thing is, I don't want to speak for Mr. Kirchhoff, but I think he just wanted to provide information about the value that the program has brought veterans, but I want to be careful not to misrepresent anything he was going to say, but I think that was going to be the topic area, and perhaps he'll make it in
Yeah, if he
time
makes
to
it, we
himself.
can bring him on.
And to that end, just to note, because there is some misunderstandings there, the Missouri marijuana program has transferred $98.3 million to the Missouri Veterans Commission, and so that's fresh money that's not supplanted from GR. So thank you very much.
Did you fill out a witness form?
did,
Okay.
right here.
I know we're all a little rusty coming in for the first hearing. Governor's prayer breakfast today, so everyone make sure that you have your witness form filled out. Leave it up on the desk. You can testify and then fill it out later. Ms. Harness, if you want to come up. Opposition, 5 minutes.
Yes,
Proceed when ready.
if I can read my notes now. Can you help me? Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Kathy Harness, and I'm here this morning on behalf of the Missouri Beer Wholesalers Association. And the Missouri Beer Wholesalers also has some legislation around hemp, intoxicating hemp, and ours is specific to beverages, because that's the business, the industry that the beer wholesalers are in beverages. I would like to point out that the federal legislation does not go into effect until next November. So between now and November, we have the current system that we have. No regulation, just no age gating. Anybody, you can buy it anytime, anywhere, anyone. So we think that regulation around this product is very important. We think that there's a possibility that before November comes, there will be an extension of the sunset, that this will not be banned next November. That's a possibility. And what this legislation would do would ban it. I guess the effective date would be August 28th. Oh, it's an emergency. Oh, great.
Even better.
Yeah, even the more the reason to do something, not this. Anyway, this legislation shuts down an industry that is out there, that people are selling these products, and they're selling them by self-regulating right now. There are definitely bad actors. There are always bad actors in any industry that you're going to have. And as we all well know, unfortunately, laws don't really always stop the bad actors. And I know Mr. Robbins said that the marijuana industry, that they talk all about the federal legislation. And I do find it a little interesting that last time I looked, marijuana is illegal at the federal level. So that reference is, kind of is concerning to me. We do, in our bill, we do support labeling the products and marketing them in a manner that the children do not get a hold of, that there's a certain age and a certain place and licenses that have to be had in order to do it. But we oppose this legislation. We oppose just banning it outright before the federal government has actually spoken. I'm happy to answer any questions.
On that last point that you made, before the federal government has spoken, what were their actions on the closing of the federal farm bill loophole? Was that enough action, or is that still confusing because you're leaving it to the states for roughly, a year to take action on that? Was that not sufficient from the federal government when they closed that loophole to say what Tom Robbins just went over and explained, what was it, a couple weeks ago in the funding bill?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I'm sorry. That the federal government will ban this product. It does ban it, effective next November 2026.
So would you support a full-out ban?
If there's
On the
a
state
full-out
level?
ban, yes, we will adhere. We will abide by that.
Okay.
And if different legislation is passed on this, and the federal ban goes into effect, that legislation will be moot at that point. And the legislation that we are proposing says that.
Senator Roberts.
So tying this to the effective date, assuming the federal government officially bans it, I think you were saying it hasn't been put into effect. It'll be in November.
Correct.
So if we were to pass it this year, we would be acting before the federal government has officially banned it.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Ms. Harness. The next witness in support, you will have 5 minutes. Please come forward. One of the greatest chiefs in the state of Missouri. Thank you for being here today, and proceed when ready.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Christy Giuseppe with the Law Enforcement Legislative Coalition, representing our police chiefs in Missouri. I'm here today to testify in support of Senate Bill 904. Our organization testified 2 years ago in an attempt to ban these intoxicating hemp-related products, and our testimony still remains the same. We continually see young people who fall victim to opioid addiction, overdoses, and other illegal substances, and allowing unregulated products that are easily accessible, packaged to resemble candy, and readily available just adds to the problem. Police officers and parents need your help. I have police chiefs who call me, relay stories of parents contacting them about their teens accessing these products, and I'll give you a few examples. We had a parent that called one of our police departments, said that their 15-year-old son was given a complimentary gummy, contained 300 milligrams of THC. He took it before he went to bed. Parents found him in what they described to be a catatonic or semi-conscious state. In other words, they couldn't wake him up. They rushed him to the hospital, and it took several days for the THC to metabolize out of his system. Parents of their 16-year-old daughter went in to purchase some candy that she thought was infused with intoxicating hemp. She took it, it actually didn't do anything, so she returned to that business and said, hey, this, never asked for ID or whatnot, said, hey, this didn't do anything, and they said, well, we'll refer you to something more potent. They gave her that product, she ingested it. Again, the parents had to rush her to the hospital, hallucinating and so forth. It took several days, she missed several days of school, took several days to metabolize out of her system. Retired Chief of Eureka PD relayed this account. Six Flags has a garage sale every year. He said that they got a call while they were at the garage sale where they had a vendor that set up with what appeared to be bags of marijuana, just outright selling bags of marijuana. They sent police officers down there. Those police officers contacted that vendor, and they said, hey, this is hemp. This is completely legal. It's hemp. And there was nothing they could do about it. We can't field test it. Our labs can't test it. And they had to walk away, and they had to go tell the complainant, hey, there's nothing we can do about it. That's why we need your help. I want to clear up something, too. Yesterday, we had some testimony in front of another committee, and I want to make sure that we have this accurate. There was an allegation that we were here and the police chiefs were here advocating for the marijuana industry. I want to make sure that I state that that's not accurate. We were never for the legalization of marijuana. We still aren't, but the people of Missouri were. They voted that into the Constitution. We are sworn to uphold the Constitution, protect people's constitutional rights, and support the will of the people. With that being said, we're here because this is a public safety threat, and we need your help. We were here 2 years ago asking to ban this. We thought there was going to be some regulations put in place last year, but that didn't happen, and we're back asking you to ban this. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief, and all that you do from monitoring snowstorms and the
Yeah.
public threat that is MoDOT to the public threat that are these intoxicating products. Just to clarify, I know Lake St. Louis, the SSM hospital that's out there, there have been a lot of constituents of mine that you serve out there in your capacity who, just like those stories you were reading, kids go to a gas station, no ID, no identification presented. Are you aware that you can also purchase some of these products, these intoxicating products, online and get them shipped to your house without any identification?
Right.
The other question I was going to ask you is the enforceability. I know there's a lot of questions. There's been a lot of confusion behind this since the federal farm bill and the implementation of it, now closing of the loophole. The enforcement of the ban, if the feds ban it, that year period, is it easier to enforce a federal ban on a state level when when the state law is silent, or is it easier to enforce a ban when the state statutes clarify what the feds did?
Yeah, it's much easier to enforce a ban if we have a state statute. It's easier to enforce a ban than regulations.
What are
So-
some of the difficulties enforcing federal law if state law is wholly silent on it?
Well, we can't enforce federal law. In order to enforce federal law, we'd have to go to a federal law enforcement agency. We would have to get others involved. We can only enforce state statute. That's what we're empowered to do. So,
And would you foresee, with all the violent crime that we're trying to tackle in St. Louis, Kansas City, and other areas, would you foresee the feds coming in if we don't pass anything, whether it's this bill or some other codification of federal law, if we are wholly silent on it, how easy do you think it would be to connect in Lake St. Louis, in St. Charles County, in St. Louis County, with the feds to enforce a ban on these types of products?
it would be much more difficult. We have a lot more resources locally that we utilize. In fact, a lot of those resources do, make up those federal partnerships and that. But it's always easier to try to take care of that in-house, take care of that, on the local level or on the state level. So we appreciate all the help we can get.
Any further questions for the chief? Seeing none, thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
We're going to move to the second witness in opposition, 5 minutes. Make sure you have your witness form and leave that
Already
before.
done, sir.
Perfect.
Thank you. Probably could use an hour for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Craig Katz. I am on the board of directors of the Missouri Hemp Trade Association. I actually have a real job, and that is Government Relations and Compliance Manager for MNG Brands, which is a St. Louis-based company that is vertically operated. We manufacture, we distribute, and we have brick and mortar in 57 stores in 5 states. We have international and national distribution. That is to say, I have a fair amount of experience on the national level and spend a lot of time in D.C. I was going to start off with that, but before I do that, I want to go back to a couple of things that the chief said just now. And We thank you for your service. We know it's a very tough job that you've got. In terms of the issue of children being taken to emergency rooms, calls of that nature, there are statistics on this. The CDC keeps statistics on it. National Institute of Health keeps statistics on it. Since 2009, when they started keeping statistics on it, there have been exactly 2 deaths of children that may have had a contributing factor of cannabis. And I'm not saying hemp. I'm talking about cannabis, which covers marijuana and hemp. In the same period of time, deaths from car accidents with drunk drivers killing children, 2,025. 2,000 in terms of deaths of children from household products, cleaning products, 968. Deaths from using other things of that sort, way more. It's not even an issue as to whether or not these products can kill children, because they just don't. The body doesn't allow that to happen. Can kids get sick from it? Sure, they can get sick from it. Does anybody want that? No, nobody wants that. So we want regulation. Everybody wants regulation in some form, shape or form. The other thing that the chief talked about was a crime issue here. When you look at the crime issue, if you ban these products, you will create a crime issue. You'll have a black market that will be out of control. If you're worried about Chinese gangs, which, by the way, is a fallacy, that's not even an issue either. But if you're worried about gang or organized crime or just crime in general, you'll see people on the street corners selling these things. That's not what you want either. That's contrary to what you want. So now let me get into the federal aspect of this. First of all, the bill that was passed in the continuing resolution in October, the reason that got through, that language got through, is because we were in the middle of a government shutdown, and no one was going to plant the flag on the hill of hemp to keep the government from getting reopened. And so many senators and congresspersons who voted in favor of that language did so because they wanted to open the government. In the interim, however, they've been inundated with letters, emails, petitions saying what a terrible idea it is. There is a vast majority of the voting public in the United States, and you're all elected officials, so those are your constituents, who are in favor of access to these products. The President of the United States, 2 weeks ago, issued an executive order, and in his executive order, he specifically called out full-spectrum CBD. Full-spectrum CBD, in case you don't know, contains THC. The President directed his administration to work with Congress to regulate and redefine hemp to come off of the language that was contained in Section 781 of the continuing resolution. It's a simple thing. Congress has introduced, a congressman has introduced the day before yesterday a bill to extend out the moratorium on enforcement from November of 26 to November of 28. The reason of that is very simple. They want to get Mitch McConnell and Andy Harris out of Congress so that they can formulate regulations. And Mitch McConnell wants a legacy that doesn't say that he was the one who legalized marijuana in the United States. The bill in the House that was presented by Representative Baird is a bipartisan bill, 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat. There is also legislation that was filed in the United States Senate by Ron Wyden, which would regulate and create a framework for hemp products in the United States. The fact of the matter is we are guardedly optimistic that this is going to take place. They will not ban a $26 billion industry. In the state of Missouri, there are 10,000 people employed in this industry. Do you really want it under these circumstances economically in this state with inflation up and with unemployment up? Do you really want to put another 10,000 people out of work?
Your time has expired, but you can summarize briefly.
That's good.
I'm going to go back real quick before I open up to questions on this. I was a little bit confused by your statement, and I'm just going to paraphrase that the claim of Chinese nationals or Chinese gangs is over-exaggerated or is fake news. And I've been one to call NBC, CBS, and all of them fake news as well. But just a brief overview. We've got Forbes, the Department of Justice, NBC News, ProPublica, News Nation, CBS Morning News, Yahoo Finance, all discussing that in Maine, California, Oklahoma, Michigan, just a brief search on here, that Chinese transnational criminal organizations have established a significant presence in the U.S. illicit marijuana market, THC markets, large-scale illegal growing operations across numerous states. Are you claiming that all of those organizations are
No,
fake
you're
news?
talking about marijuana, not hemp.
Well, they're talking about Delta 8 and Delta 9.
Yeah, but they're really talking about marijuana. They're not talking about hemp because there isn't money in it for them in the hemp industry. Their money is in the marijuana industry.
So there's
which is
no
the
money
reason
in
that
this industry
No, I'm
that
not
you're
saying that
part
there's
of.
no money in it, but the money for them is in the marijuana industry, which is the reason why Mr. Robbins is fighting so hard to get the hemp industry closed, because they want to protect their money.
Okay, that's then let me move to the full spectrum. You mentioned Congress acting on full spectrum CBD.
Well,
For
I-
clarification, is full spectrum CBD intoxicating?
It can be.
Is that what Congress was referring to? Is that what the Trump administration
So first
was
of all,
referring to?
I did not say Congress. I said the President of the United States is the one who said that he wants people to have access to full spectrum CBD. He specifically pointed out senior citizens and veterans, and he specifically mentioned.
And was he discussing in that? Did he clarify at any point that he wanted to differentiate between intoxicating or
No, as a matter of
non-intoxicating?
fact, he directed his administration to work with Congress to redefine the language that they just passed in the CR to change the definition of hemp so that there would be access to full spectrum CBD that contained THC. Hemp-derived THC is well, let's compare it to drinking light beer or drinking 130 proof bourbon. Okay, it's just not the same. It may have some similar aspects, and you can take any product that has any degree of intoxication perception to it, and you can extrapolate that. If you drink a bottle of bourbon, and I'm not talking about taking a shot of bourbon. If you drink a bottle of bourbon, you're going to kill yourself by alcohol intoxication. You're not making alcohol illegal.
With the confusion behind if the feds enforce this without extending the time period, if we don't take any action on a state level, would you close up shop based upon the federal ban on this?
Well, we would never break federal law. So that's a clear answer, I think. I don't believe that it's going to happen because I don't think that there's any chance that they're going to kill a $26 billion industry.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, and I wasn't speaking with you last year and the year before.
Yeah, you're right.
When I was discussing the feds hopefully taking action on this.
Mm-hmm.
And our former senators who are now in Congress, our former treasurer and attorney general who's in the Senate, who was telling us a fix of that loophole was coming. I was told by many people, I think who you represent, that this is never going to happen, that the feds have never acted on marijuana, on reclassification, and we're never going to act on closing the loophole, and that did happen. So let's just say, hypothetically, the feds do enforce this and say, yes, we're not moving the deadline, we're going to enforce this.
Well,
You're saying that all of your groups are just going to abide by that if we're wholly silent?
Well, assuming that there will probably be legal challenges, I mean, I'm just going to, spitball.
There
this.
always is.
Right. I'm a lawyer. You may be a lawyer.
Allegedly.
Again, yeah, right, exactly. I'm a reformed lawyer. So spitballing it, if the federal government passes a law that makes it illegal, we're certainly not going to break the law. We will follow federal law.
Any further questions? All right, I guess we answered them all. Thank you for your time. Moving back to those in favor of the bill, we're going to move to 3 minutes. Next in favor, please come forward. Make sure you state your name for the record and fill out a witness form. Leave it before you leave this room.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, member of the committee. I'm Jack Cardetti with the Missouri Cannabis Trade Association. Now, one of the biggest unknowns over the last several years on this issue is what's really in these intoxicating products. That's been a real issue around this. Now, one thing we do know is that hardly any of this actually comes from Missouri. According to USDA, only 210 acres of hemp was harvested in the entire state of Missouri in 2024. At the same time, these products were proliferating all throughout the state. And the fact is that almost none of these products actually come from Missouri, and increasingly they're coming from overseas, including from China. Now, what we don't know, because these are completely unregulated, they're untested, there really isn't a great way for the average person to know what's actually in these products. Therefore, last year, what we did is we went all around the state and we purchased 55 of these products. Some of you have seen this Hemp Hoax report by now. If not, we will gladly get that to you and happy to walk through those. And so we actually sent those off to 3 of the state-licensed marijuana testing labs here in Missouri just to find out what's actually in these products. And the results were, quite frankly, eye-opening. What we found is out of the 55 products, a staggering 96% of them were actually marijuana or synthetic THC, not legal hemp. Almost all these products contain far more THC than allowed by law, with one of the products found to contain up to 89% THC, which is 298 times the legal limit. Quite frankly, the potency issue wasn't the only problem that we found in these. When we did those, when the state licensed testing labs did their testing on these, 29% of these products tested positive for dangerous contaminants such as pesticides, heavy metals, mold, and residual solvents. These hemp industry that we're talking about, these gas stations, these smoke shops, they're not selling hemp. They're just selling marijuana and calling it hemp at this point. Or they're selling chemically converted, federally illegal synthetic marijuana. Make no mistake, they're already breaking Missouri law by deceptively and criminally selling marijuana products under the guise of non-intoxicating hemp. And that's precisely why this bill is so important. The bad actors selling marijuana and calling it hemp are already breaking the law, but as it stands right there now, there is no enforcement mechanism. Ultimately, that's exactly what the senator's bill does. It once and for all aligns Missouri law with federal law, and more importantly, it gives law enforcement the tools they need to actually enforce these laws. That's another reason we were so glad to see the emergency clause put on this legislation. If 96% of the people that claim to be selling hemp are actually selling marijuana, that's a problem, and we need to stop it as soon as we can.
Your time has expired, but you can summarize briefly.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to point out is that this issue actually came before the United States Senate. Not just the funding bill, but there was an amendment on this particular issue. And you had 76 out of the 100 U.S. senators agree to close the loophole in the hemp ban. It's hard to get 76 out of 100 U.S. senators to agree on free puppies. And so the fact that there was that much alignment on this issue.
Everybody loves free puppies. Free kittens, too. I've told my daughters no more animals. We tried the fostering. We ended up keeping 2 of them, two dogs. So now we have 4 dogs and 2 cats. But that's a wholly different problem for a different committee. I want to go back to what you said about the products that you seized and tested. First, briefly, the requirement that the voters put in twice. You had medical first and then recreational. All of the products have to be made in Missouri, correct?
Yeah, so under Article 14 of the Constitution, every single product sold in a Missouri dispensary is grown in Missouri, it's manufactured in Missouri, and it's sold in Missouri. So this is really a Buy Missouri, for Missouri program. And
you said in 2024, only 210 acres
of hemp was harvested in the entire state of Missouri. And that number is at an all-time low. It was much higher than that. The hemp market has cratered here because they're not actually selling hemp here in Missouri. They're just taking marijuana, whether it's grown illicitly here, but more often in these other states that aren't properly regulating their programs.
So based upon those products that you went and purchased, I assume you purchased them and just didn't break in and steal them. But those products that you purchased and you brought them to the lab testing facilities, did you say 95%, or how much of them were testing positive for illicit marijuana?
Yeah, 52 of the 55 products actually tested as marijuana, not as hemp.
Wow, okay. Any further questions? And I assume you're a lawyer too, allegedly?
Just play one on TV.
Okay. Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, we're going to move to the opposition. 3 minutes, Mr. Leone. I know you're going to have a witness for him. You always do. You probably have about 4 or 5 of them in case you lose one. But you can proceed when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I am Ron Leone. I'm the Executive Director of the Missouri Petroleum and Convenience Association, so I represent many of your constituents who own or operate gas stations, convenience stores, truck stops, as well as your constituents who supply those small businesses. For several years now, Mr. Chairman, you and I have had many discussions about this issue. And MPCA has supported legislation which allows Missouri retailers to sell, and this is critical, any and all hemp-derived products that are authorized and lawful under federal law. We've never come before you or any other committee seeking permission to sell illegal products. Conversely, over the past several years, we've strongly opposed legislation which is typically supported by the Missouri marijuana monopoly, which prohibits the retail sale of these federally authorized and lawful hemp-derived products unless they are sold in their marijuana dispensaries. As has been discussed in the past by several witnesses, and I think the sponsor as well, late in 2025, Congress took action on this issue and essentially is prohibiting the sale of these products effective, I think, November of this year. However, I'm hearing from some of my national partners, and there's plenty of chatter in D.C., that Congress may amend that law to, in fact, allow the sale of some intoxicating hemp-derived products, or there's always the possibility that Congress may extend the sunset of that date from November of this year to something in the future. MPCA, we oppose Senate Bill 904, and I hate to do that, Senator, because it will prohibit your constituents, Missouri retailers, from selling whatever hemp-derived products end up being authorized and lawful under federal law. This prohibition will hurt Missouri retailers and put Missouri retailers, your constituents, at a competitive disadvantage with our border states, especially Kansas and Illinois. The bottom line for us, Mr. Chairman, is pass legislation which allows your constituents, Missouri retailers, to sell whatever is authorized and lawful under federal law, whatever that is today, whatever that is tomorrow. If the feds actually prohibit and outlaw all the products, so be it. But I don't think we should be picking and choosing and putting your small business constituents at a competitive disadvantage with all the other states that we compete with. I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Leone. I know you're smarter than an attorney. You don't even need to play one on TV. Any further questions? Senator, please proceed.
Just to inquire. Thank you for being here. Appreciate
Good morning.
you being here. So with the products in your stores, in your convenience stores, where are these located? Are they behind cases? Are they locked up so kids can't get
Well,
to them?
where are the products located,
Yeah.
Senator?
Can you
Yeah.
run me through
Unfortunately, there are some unscrupulous retailers out there, just like there's bad politicians, bad lawyers, bad law enforcement. So we have been trying to self-regulate as best we can. Stepping back just a little bit, for the past 4 or 5 years while this issue has been percolating through the legislature, we have heavily advocated for regulation of these products. Keeping them behind the counter would be a good start. 21 and older for consumers would be great. Obviously, beverages can't be kept behind the counter, but of course we can put certain signage and things of that nature up. So I encourage my members, and most of them do self-regulate and follow those common sense type of regulations in order to keep these products out of the hands of children. I've encouraged them to make sure that they're sourcing their products from good wholesalers and producers here in the United States of America. But everything I've been recommending to my members is things that I've been asking the legislature to pass the last couple of years. We've been unsuccessful in that respect. Hopefully this year we'll be a little better at it.
Yeah, because one of my biggest concerns is how this affects kids. I've been since we've had some of these debates, whether it's VLTs or whether it's an issue like this. Anytime I go into a gas station now, I'm constantly looking around and checking the place out. Like I tell you, a lot of the convenience stores that I have been to don't have any kind of safeguards on these, and they do look attractive to kids. You can't really tell the difference between some of the packaging on these versus the normal ones, and that concerns me. I know someone earlier mentioned something about what 2 deaths of kids. For me, when I look at this issue, I look at it from the addictive substance abuse issue for kids too, not just the death. So I'm primarily concerned about that issue, but but I guess we'll continue the discussion here. So.
We could not agree more, Senator, that is our primary concern as well. I mean, again, nobody is perfect, no industry is perfect, but we've been pretty good at handling age-restricted products over the years, whether they're alcohol or tobacco. Not a perfect record, but certainly a good record. We follow the regulations at the state and federal level for those products. We're very comfortable doing that. We're happy and willing to do that with respect to this particular product line. But unfortunately, until we do something legislatively, it's all self-regulated, and I don't have anything to really tie my members' hands to make sure it happens, but I do know most of them are complying with these common sense self-regulations that I just described earlier.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Chair.
Further questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr.
sir.
Leone. Going back to those in favor, please come forward. Another great American stepping forward to testify. You will have 3 minutes. Looks like you have your witness form, and proceed when ready.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Jason Lum from the St. Louis County Police Department. I'm going to talk a little bit about the St. Louis Gateway Strike Force. It's the largest undercover network to combat drugs in the Midwest. I ran that for several years, and when you're talking about the black market's already here. The difference is with weed, we can enforce law. With Delta 8 and 9, we cannot. There's hundreds and hundreds of pounds that come up monthly that look just like Skills, Jolly Ranchers, all the different candies, and then go to homes. So they're bypassing the convenience stores. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. So if you want to help law enforcement, common sense regulation will help us. It'll help us enforce law. So that's really what I want to talk about. Any questions on that?
Just to clarify a little bit more on the collaboration. We talked to the chief earlier. If state law is silent in enforcing federal law or codifying federal law into our statutes, is it going to be hard to simply enforce or try and coordinate with the feds to enforce their federal prohibition on this?
We work with the feds every day, but if it's not enforced by the state, they usually don't want to do much with it. So we can take off hundreds of pounds in one shipment from Southern California, but we're not going to be able to enforce anything, and nobody's going to prosecute that.
And do you know anything about the allegations that the criminal enterprises from China are infiltrating into certain states, whether it's the marijuana industry, the hemp industry? Is there any truth to that? Because it does seem, in looking on social media, that is an actual, not social media, when I'm looking at some of these reports from actual media, that it appears that is happening in a lot of states, and it could be creeping into Missouri.
I don't want to speak if it's creeping into Missouri, but we ran one of the largest cases in the Midwest into Michigan involving Chinese nationals, money laundering, and all kinds of different things. But so yes, those reports are accurate.
Any questions for the witness? That's how good you did. No questions. Look at that. Thank you. And hopefully you can stick around for another good bill after this one. Moving to those in opposition of the Senate bill, please come forward. Senate Bill 904, you will have 3 minutes to testify against. Make sure you have your witness form. Proceed when ready.
Okay, my name is Gary Wiggert. I'm a 35-year veteran, St. Louis Police Department. The reason why I'm here is I used to be head of security at a number of places that manufactured marijuana, and what's happening is they're just being bought up, so it's becoming monopolies. I am against monopolies. I am for open markets, and hemp supports regulation. And in regards where the hemp comes from, I think the majority of it comes from Kentucky, and a lot of it comes from California.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. Moving back to those in favor. Any witnesses in favor of Senate Bill 904, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, my name is Pat Kelly, representing the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis. We've been hearing these stories, our constituents from their local law enforcement agencies for a number of years. And I just think it's time for the state of Missouri to really enact some laws that continue to help protect our children. Give the law enforcement agencies and professionals the tools they need to do their job. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. Moving back to those in opposition. Those in opposition of the Senate Bill 904. You'll have 3 minutes. Proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. David Jackson, registered lobbyist here on behalf of the Hemp Beverage Alliance. I want to thank the sponsor for bringing this forward. We've had conversations as well, and want to work closely, with him to the extent we can on this. Look, this is the most complicated, simple issue we have, right? It's extremely complicated in that it sits at the intersection of federal and state law. The chemistry, the agriculture, the public safety, the marketing, the competition, the money. There's a lot of things that are complicating about this. But from my client's standpoint, we just want to simplify this in the sense that the Hemp Beverage Alliance produces the drinks. We have the brands that work with the wholesalers through a distribution process where this is the delivery process. This is much different, and I think if there's one takeaway, we'd ask is that the committee really just look how drinks are very different, in that this is similar to what you see with a White Claw or a seltzer. This is in low dose. Typically, our language we've supported is a 10 milligram cap on this. I've heard comparison to the average joint is 150 milligrams. The whole goal for this is something to consume slowly and predictably. Something that is currently being sold in retails, outlets across the state. We are proponent of these being sold in places that have a liquor license, places that the consumers are 21 and older. When you look at a lot of the public safety side of this, a lot of the calls into poison control, I think it's 0.5% are related to drinks. It's a different target market on that. It's really jumped into the big growing segment of NA drinks. I would say it's predictable in the sense of, imagine drinking a cup of coffee versus taking caffeine pills. It's kind of the vast majority of the public safety issues here revolve around the inhalants and the edibles. And I'm not here to speak about that. I think we've had plenty of chemistry class today in regards to how this is all derived. I'm not here to talk about federal law in the sense that our goal here is to set up a regulatory framework around the drinks. And when the feds right now, we will abide by federal law, and until the feds make a decision, we like to continue to compete in the market and provide drinks. I can't speak on behalf of the marijuana industry. I've been told that the drinks represent 1 or 2% of their sales. Like I said, it's a different market. We are looking, we have entire aisles and liquor stores where this is a big drink category with mocktails and other types of seltzers and NA drinks. When you go into a dispensary, it's just not really designed for an entire wall of drinks and a 6-pack of these low dose drinks.
Your time has expired. Wrap up.
Yeah, basically, drinks are different. We'd like to work with the senator in trying to categorize and regulate these differently. I can't speak to anything else. We want to abide by federal law. That's it.
Appreciate your testimony. Any questions? See, Senator Roberts.
Yeah, and this might have already been said. If I missed it, I apologize.
Yep.
Right now, I understand they're being sold in retail stores. Are restaurants and bars selling these products in Missouri?
They are. Yeah, in fact, and I'm not sure if Blueberry Hill is in your district or right outside your district, but just Blueberry Hills is one of the biggest, on-site premises where this is very popular, and specifically our brand Triple that has a fulfillment center in Creve Coeur as well, and they're packaged down in Farmington. So Triple after 3 milligram drinks, very low dose, but it's become a huge category especially with the growth of the NA market, and so we would love to support support on-site premises, but to be clear, we are very, very much in favor of regulation. We want to stop the bad actors, and I think when you look at the friction within the industry and the edibles and inhalants, the beverage industry has kind of got this figured out. We're here in sync with the distributors, the wholesalers, the retailers. There's not a big drink category opposing us on how you regulate drinks. The drinks are very much in sync here of how we want this to look and being proponent of regulation.
All right, and then those venues, it's 3 milligrams?
That's one of our brands. We are in support of anything 10 milligram and below. And so anything above that, get it off the shelves.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? Seeing none. We're now going to move back to those in favor, but time limit testimony to 1 minute from here on out. Any further in support? Seeing none. Any further in opposition? Seeing none. Any for informational purposes? Please come forward. You will have 1 minute, but I'll be lenient on you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Dan Engelman, Director of Policy for the Attorney General's Office. Senator Roberts, you asked if anyone was here. Admittedly, I did not catch your question, so if you could reframe your question, I'll do my best to answer.
Senator Roberts, proceed.
If you look on page 23 and 24, on 24, particularly line 180, it states that the Office of the Attorney General shall have primary jurisdiction to enforce the provisions of this section. Are there any other laws in our state that give them primary jurisdiction like that? Usually when I think of criminal offenses, it's done by their counties, and you're kind of taking the authority over that. So could you speak to that aspect of the legislation?
Yeah, the Missouri Merchandising Practices Act, which is our, consumer protection, and under that section of statute is where we have issued, several CID, civil investigative demands, with some of these entities that have been mentioned this morning. General Hanaway shares very much the same concerns with these products in stores and, having sakes for kids getting a hold of them. And, you've heard those concerns, I think, on both sides of this issue. That's what comes to mind there.
Okay. And was there a particular impetus as opposed to letting, these individual county prosecuting attorney offices prosecute these types of cases?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Was there a reason why not having, typically with these types of offenses, having just the local prosecutors take them on as opposed to at the state level?
Look, our position is, whatever the legislature wants to pass here, we are not, just to be perfectly candid, we are not overly inserting ourselves in this debate. We've heard, strong opinions on all sides. We've met with many stakeholders on this. So certainly it's a prerogative of the legislature and what this looks like. But I think, what I'm hearing this morning, that I think we all want to get to the same goal, right? In terms of protecting our most vulnerable with these products.
Sure.
Does that help?
Yeah. Has the Prosecutors Association weighed in on this?
I do not know. Certainly we've had a few conversations with them, but you'd have to ask them, Senator.
I'll do that. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Any further questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your time. Any others for informational purposes? Seeing none. Before we conclude, I just want to thank all of those in support and opposition and the one for informational purposes for working on this very important issue. We're going to continue doing that with the sponsor. So that concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 904. We will now move to Senate Bill 888. We're going to go down the list, and the last two bills will be thereafter, Senate Bills 977 and 1011. With that, I will turn the gavel over to the Vice Chair.
We will be hearing Senate Bill 888. Senator Schroer, you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be pretty brief on this. I know we have a lot of witnesses to come and testify and share their expertise on this very important issue. Senate Bill 888 is right in line with what I've been trying to do since taking the oath back in 2017, is making Missouri safer. Without tackling crime, without tackling the issues that are impacting all of our districts in terms of law enforcement and public safety, we can't grow as a state. We can't attract more businesses. We can't attract more people to move here and call this place home when we have several cities that are always at the top of the list when it comes to violent crime and murder per capita. Senate Bill 888 is simply modifying our current system of juvenile justice. After the incidents in Ferguson, where I grew up, a lot of the juvenile justice system was changed. New forms came out in determining how you can detain certain individuals and getting them to the services within our juvenile justice system. So this act simply permits, Senate Bill 888 simply permits the prosecutor or the circuit attorney or even the attorney general to come in if they're acting as a special prosecutor to make a motion and present evidence that a child between the ages of 14 and 18 has committed an offense that could be considered a felony if committed by an adult, and that case should be transferred to the adult court. Essentially, what we're trying to do here is clarify some of the Missouri Juvenile Detention Assessment Form that's not being applied universally from St. Louis City to St. Louis County, St. Charles, Lincoln, Pike. All of these different communities are implementing this in a different way. It's very confusing, and this would say that is something you can take into consideration, but it's not going to be mandatory. If it is taken into consideration, we're going to look at a compilation of all of the alleged crimes and not just pick one of them. For example, if a kid comes into a parking lot, breaks into 15 cars, steals a gun, steals jewelry, steals a wallet, we don't want the juvenile assessment detention form to only look at one of those crimes. We want all of them put together to see if this child needs the services within our juvenile justice system. I've talked to the governor's office about this, and I'm very thankful that they mentioned in his State of the State that this is a priority of his. I know Representative Christ has a little change in his bill that we're going to make in this one as well. But this should be a bipartisan bill in ensuring that juveniles who may have made a mistake get the resources, get that second chance if they can turn their lives around. And what we're seeing right now, the way that our juvenile justice system is being implemented in different facets of our state, we're creating career criminals. We're making these young kids emboldened to go out and continue to commit crimes because nobody is treating them seriously. There are no consequences to that. So this very simple, very short piece of legislation seeks to do that. So with that, Senate Bill 888, I'll open it up to any questions.
Questions for the senator? Seeing none. As a reminder,
was I under time also? Look at that.
Right under time. As a reminder, the first two witnesses in favor and against are going to have 5 minutes. After that, we're moving to 3 minutes to keep this moving along. First witness to testify in favor of Senate Bill 888.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Christy Giuseppe with the Law Enforcement Legislative Coalition representing our police chiefs across Missouri, here today to testify in support of Senate Bill 888, allowing juvenile suspects to continue to commit felony-level crimes without offering any deterrent doesn't help the victims of those crimes, and it doesn't help the juvenile suspects either. Police chiefs across the state relay scenarios where a juvenile suspect is picked up for a felony and immediately released back to their parents, or they go out and they commit the same crime once again. In the city of St. Louis, we had 2 carjackings that occurred within 48 hours. That means that juvenile carjacked somebody with a gun, was released. The same juvenile suspect was caught by the same police officers within 48 hours. Here's another example from a police agency in St. Louis County. They had a juvenile suspect between October 2024 and January 2025, about 4 or 5 months, stole 9 vehicles, a handgun, did property damage, felony assault on a police officer, tampering, attempted stealing of a vehicle, and resisting arrest. Suspect was caught, was released back to the parents continually, and continued to reoffend. At one point, he was placed in an ankle monitor. He removed it, he cut it off, stole another vehicle, fled the state, was in a crash, injured a motorist, was returned back home to his parents, stole another vehicle, and then ended up striking a police officer with that vehicle. That resulted in an officer-involved shooting. That suspect was wounded critically, ended up in the hospital, recovered in 6 months. Even the juvenile office recommended that he was held, and then somebody in the juvenile courts released him back to his parents. He went back out 2 months later, stole another car, and crashed it into 3 or 4 other cars. Bottom line is the system's not helping that kid. System's not helping those victims, and we need some relief, and we would ask you to support this.
Questions for the witness? Senator Roberts.
Thank you for being here and for your testimony today.
Yes, sir.
What age range are you primarily seeing with these juveniles committing these types of offenses?
It's primarily 13, 14 to 17, but I can tell you that when we check with our juvenile detention centers, I can tell you that I've gotten statistics back where 65% of those detention centers are filled with 17-year-olds. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much. As a reminder, please fill out a witness form for each testimony. We'll take the next witness in opposition to Senate Bill 888.
My name is Daniel Feldman. Well, first of all, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for having me here. My name is Daniel Feldman. I'm the District Defender of the Children's Defense Team in Columbia for the Missouri State Public Defender's Office, testifying in opposition of the bill. I represent young people in delinquency proceedings and in adult court in mid-Missouri and have in St. Louis and Kansas City as well. I appreciate the Senator's call for uniformity across the state. I want to start there. The current JDTA, this is an evidence-based, data-driven tool developed by the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Missouri was one of the first states to adopt this model. OSCA, the Department of Safety, juvenile officers, juvenile courts across the state have worked closely to implement this. We're proud of the Missouri model. A violent crime such as an A felony or a vehicle hijacking with a weapon automatically equals 15 points, which creates a presumption of detainment for that kid. It is important to note that this JDTA, as it currently stands, is only a guideline, so open to that conversation. The juvenile officer, the court, can override the JDTA, and it's not binding currently. This override happens across the state every day. I want to briefly talk about this, the part of the legislation that has to do with the database. So, states around the country seek to emulate this Missouri model of juvenile justice. This model recognizes that a child's brain is not yet fully developed and is therefore more impulsive to treatment, that a young person's more impulsive, but also significantly more open to rehabilitation and treatment. So we pride ourselves here on having a kid take responsibility, to be held accountable, and to be rehabilitated away from the harsh light and collateral consequences of the adult system. I'm concerned that to create this criminal history database, this would create a record that follows a young person into adulthood and would go against this Missouri model. So that's my concern. Section 211.321 allows juvenile officers to disclose information about children to law enforcement agencies when they ask currently. And then I'm just very briefly going to talk about the certification part of this bill. This language would not just allow prosecutors to seek certification of kids on violent crimes, but on all felony allegations. As it currently stands, juvenile officers are required to file certification motions for violent crimes in Missouri. They have the discretion to file discretionary certification motions for other felonies. These specialized attorneys, fully versed in juvenile court, they exercise that power on a daily basis. I think, all of us in this room, we care about children. I do want to note that there's no shortage of certifications happening in Missouri right now. In 2024, by my calculations from OSCA, there were 129 children certified as adults in Missouri in 2024. In 2021, there were only 35 certifications. We believe in the Missouri model. Thank you, Chairman, for your time and for the committee's time. I'm open for questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Questions for the witness? Senator Roberts.
Thanks, and thank you for being here today. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So right now in the state of Missouri, already, children for certain violent felonies can be certified as an adult, but they cannot be certified as an adult for nonviolent felonies. But if this law goes into effect, a child could be certified as an adult for a nonviolent felony.
So for a violent felony, the juvenile officer has to file the mandatory certification, and then the certification hearing is held. They have discretion right now on all the other felonies. So the juvenile office can file for certification and have that be considered for any felony right now. This would add the prosecuting attorney and potentially the attorney general. That is, the juvenile officers are already looking, like I'm with the public defender's office, but in my experience across the state, juvenile officers are looking at these cases and they have discretion whether to file any felony, but they can do so right now as well.
So wait, how does this change that then? Because you're saying they still can do it for nonviolent felonies anyway.
This would include prosecuting attorneys to look at it would allow prosecutors to look at all felonies and then seek certification, as opposed to, at this point, it's just the juvenile officers who have that power.
Got it. So it's expanding who can. Oh, I follow you.
It is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Any other questions for the witness? Seeing none, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for your time.
We will move back to witness in support. Please remember to fill out your witness form. You have 5 minutes, Colonel. Please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Jason Law from the St. Louis County Police Department. The juvenile justice system is broken. Like I said before, I ran the St. Louis Gateway Strike Force for many years. Our main objective was violent crime and narcotics. A lot of times those go hand in hand. But there was numerous cases of juveniles being released after violent crimes that went on to commit more violent crimes. I can give you, for instance, where we arrested a juvenile in back-to-back days in different stolen cars with different stolen guns. That juvenile went on to commit a serious felony. 2 lives were affected by that. Juveniles are also used because they know the loopholes in the juvenile justice system. Gang members that are older will use juveniles on purpose for crimes, especially stolen cars. They know that they'll be released, and they pay these young juveniles $500 a car to make sure that it comes back, and then those cars are used in violent crimes. So the juvenile justice system is broken. We need some help, and we'd appreciate your thought in this.
Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to move to 3 minutes per witness, and I'll take the next witness in opposition to Senate Bill 888. Just a reminder to fill out that witness form. You can find one right up there, sir. Please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairpersons and members of the committee. I want to thank you for this opportunity to testify here today. My name is Clifton Davis, and I'm a former juvenile offender here in the Missouri Department of Corrections that served 26, here in the state of Missouri, served 26 years for an offense that I committed as a juvenile at the age of 16. I respectfully urge you to reject Senate Bill 888. This bill is not to make Missouri safer. The evidence is clear and consistent across decades of research. Youth prosecuted in adult courts are significantly more likely to reoffend than similarly situated youth retained in the juvenile system. The Center for Disease Control reviewed every major study on juvenile transfer and found that youth processed through the adult system are approximately 34% more likely to be rearrested. State-level studies in Pennsylvania, Florida, and New York, where youth were carefully matched by offense severity, age, and prior record, reached the same conclusion every time adult prosecution increases recidivism. The reason is straightforward. Adult prisons do not rehabilitate children. They warehouse them. Missouri already knows this. Our Division of Youth Services, operating under the nationally recognized Missouri model, consistently achieves one of the lowest recidivism rates in the country, with roughly 8 to 9% of youth returning to custody within 3 years. Our juvenile system does work. We have one of the best juvenile systems in the United States. Expanding adult prosecution undermines our success. The United States Supreme Court has been unequivocal that children are constitutionally different from adults. As we know in Miller versus Alabama, the court held that youth have diminished culpability and a heightened capacity for change, and that punishment must meaningfully account for immaturity, life circumstances, and rehabilitation potential. Senate Bill 888 ignores that mandate by shifting early outcome shaping power away from judges and toward prosecutors, accelerating their transfer decisions before a meaningful judicial assessment occurs, and permanently terminating juvenile court jurisdiction after a single adult conviction. This is punishment first policy, not individualized justice. This bill also worsens Missouri's already severe racial disparity. Black youth in Missouri have long been transferred to adult court at several times the rate of white youth charged with similar conduct. Senate Bill 888 acknowledges racial disparity exists, yet offers no remedy, no oversight, and no accountability, while expanding the discretionary mechanism that produced these disparities. Naming disparity without addressing it does not cure the constitutional harm. Senate Bill 888 is also fiascally irresponsible. Youth prosecuted as adults are far less likely to graduate high school, far more likely to return to prison, and far less likely to become productive taxpayers. The long-term costs fall squarely on Missouri communities. And lastly, Missouri has better options. Evidence-based juvenile interventions reduce reoffending by 40 to 70% at a fraction of the long-term costs. And our own juvenile justice system already demonstrates what works. Senate Bill 888 asks this legislator to believe that children are dangerous enough to punish like adults, but not valuable enough to invest in their rehabilitation. That position contradicts science, Supreme Court precedents, fiscal responsibility, and Missouri's own success. For these reasons, I urge you to vote no on Senate Bill 888, and I want to thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We will move to the next witness in favor of Senate Bill 888. And as a reminder to please fill out a witness form. You have 3 minutes, sir. Proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And committee members, Pat Kelly, Municipal League Metro St. Louis, just want to go on record in support of the bill. We've been working on this issue. I really want to thank Chief D. Giuseppe. We started this about 4 years ago. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Terry Briggs, who passed away a couple years ago, wrote the first amendment to fix the Rule 28, which is the scoring system for juvenile detention. I'll just tell one quick story on why this was so passionate for Terry Briggs. Several years ago, he was the mayor of the city of Bridgeton. Summer day, a kid's walking around the municipal pool outside the fence, pointing his finger at patrons inside the pool, saying, "I'm going to shoot this place up." They call the police come, the individual runs, they chase him down, he had thrown a bag away. They find the bag, they take him into custody. There was a 9mm pistol inside the bag, fully loaded with additional ammunition. They take him to St. Louis juvenile courts. Within 45 minutes, they were told they needed to take him back home, that they weren't going to hold the individual. Not only did the police officers have to deliver him back home, but they had to give the gun back to his parents because it was a licensed gun for his dad, or his dad's gun. Several weeks later, that same individual was involved with a shooting with the same gun and shot another minor in that incident. So the system is failing. It's failing the kids and minors that need to get help. When we met as a group with the Police Chiefs Association, with our judges in the family court in St. Louis County, and bring up incidents of this type, where the individual is just sent back home, they were totally unaware that those individuals had even been brought to the courts. So these kids, these minors, are not getting the services they need through the family court in order to not end up in a life of crime. So we greatly support this bill. We hope that you will, so that we can curb the revolving doors in our juvenile courts. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. You've actually touched on something that I've been working on my last 10 years in the state legislature with the example of the minor who threw a bag, had a pistol on him, and then they had to give the gun back. That's because we're not able to add points in these situations where you have minors in possessions of firearms. We're only one of 2 states, just Missouri and New Hampshire, where there is no state law. There is a federal regulation, but as we talked about with the other piece of legislation dealing with hemp, if the state agencies aren't investigating it, even if it's a federal crime, it's not worth their time. So, I mean, I think if we're serious about curbing gun violence in the city, we need to do something about minors possessing firearms. So I would like to work with the sponsor on that, because that situation that you just described is one of the biggest tragedies that is happening in my district, where you have a minor in possession of firearm. He said he's going to shoot up this place. And as you just said, the police had to return that firearm. So, I mean, if we're serious about this, we need to be able to add a point system for that, so these juveniles can get the help that they need. I mean, we're really doing them a huge disservice. So thank you for sharing that story. It's an issue that I'm very passionate about. Being able to course correct these children at these turning points is vitally important. So I think we need to find some sort of way to make it so that's not just an ordinance violation, so that situation that you described doesn't happen, because this legislation would not affect that situation of that minor who threw away that bag with that firearm and them having to give that gun back. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much. Next witness to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 888. Just another reminder to please fill out a witness form. You have 3 minutes, ma'am. You may proceed when you are ready.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to testify in the committee this morning. My name is Michelle Smith. I am the founder and director of an organization called Missouri Justice Coalition, and what I do is I advocate for community members, people, individuals who are incarcerated within this state. I actually had a whole testimony prepared that I wrote a few days ago, but since I've been sitting here listening to other officials testify, I feel like I have to really just speak from the heart for a few minutes. The gentleman that just testified before me said that the juveniles that we're speaking about, they're not getting the help that they need in family court, and I can agree with that. I do not agree that putting these children in prison is the answer. I don't believe that charging these children as adults and putting them in a place where they're not going to get any more help within the prison than they are within family court. I've just been listening, and I'm thinking in my head that it's so easy to throw children away. Especially black children, poor children, children that our education, our social service system has forgotten or failed or overlooked in some way. And yes, children are doing things. That's not, in doubt at all. Children do things every day. I work with parents who are crying to me because their children are doing things in the street and they're trying to stop them, but they can't. So I'm not here to say that children don't do anything, but I am here to say that it's way too easy to throw them away in an adult prison, and it's much harder to actually help these children. It may not be family court, may not be the answer. It may be community in connection with the family court. It is going to take all of us, our systems, family court, all of us, to make sure that we are not throwing these children away, because they do matter. Like Mr. Davis spoke earlier, he was 16 and he was out doing similar things. He was in prison for 26 years. Thankfully, he came out better, but it took him a long time to get to the place where he did, and he did not need to sit in a prison for 26 years to do that. So I just really want to encourage you all on the committee and everybody in this room, law enforcement and everybody, to really think about how to actually help these children who are wayward, who are hopeless, who are suffering and struggling with whatever they're dealing with in their lives. It may be easier to charge them as adults and incarcerate them in an adult prison, but as a society, we have to, do the harder work and make sure that we're actually really helping these children. So I'll just leave it at that, and thank you for your time.
Very good. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. Any questions for the witness? Yep.
Thank you. Hey, thank you very much for being here.
I didn't see you over there. Yes.
Yeah, just kind of more of a comment as well as in addition to kind of piggyback on what you're saying. First of all, I appreciate your heart. Clearly, it's obvious that you love the kids in our community and that you really want to make sure there's the best path forward. I just think sometimes in this whole discussion, we sometimes lose when we focus narrowly in on kids who may have a troubled background. I have a family member who has one. Something we have to remember are the victims as well, right? And so I think it's really important in this whole discussion that we kind of expand our view to include more than just the individual who offended, but also all those that they affect and impact, right? Because some of these situations, obviously we're talking about some serious crimes and violent crimes. So I appreciate you being here.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that. I think it's really important that we think of the whole picture, of course.
I
and
do
again,
too.
I appreciate
Yes.
your heart.
And I know that hurt people. So a lot of times these children are hurting as well. So it's very important to make sure that everyone involved, because even that new victim may turn around and do something later because of their victimization and not knowing how to deal with it. So I definitely think that it has to be a holistic approach to support everyone. So thank you.
It's great testimony. Any other questions for the witness? Seeing none. We are going to move to 1 minute now, and we will take the next witness in favor or support of Senate Bill 888. 1 minute. You may proceed when you're ready, sir.
Good morning. Jay Schroer, Missouri Fraternal Order Police, and I will keep it super brief because I think everybody's ready to go. But we are in support of Senate Bill 888. And I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Questions for the witness? Senator Roberts.
Very briefly, so kind of previous to my other comment I made giving from Mr. Kelly's testimony, my understanding is, you guys catch a minor with a gun, it's not an offense. He throws the bag away, they end up having to give the gun back.
Yeah, that is a problem. And I actually, it was a case back when I first started on the police department. This is back in like 05, 06. There was a juvenile. He had stolen a firearm from a neighbor. They had to give the gun back, and he was arrested in put in the juvenile system for less than 24 hours. He was dead on the street. He tried to rob someone, and it turned out to be an off-duty policeman coming home from work. He was trying to carjack her in her driveway, and they got into a gunfight. And if we would have had stronger laws on those things like that, that child would still be alive today and a better juvenile system. So I think there's definitely some issues we need to work through through the juvenile system so things like that don't happen.
Absolutely, because it's not a state offense. And I don't know there has to be some way we can do this where similarly looking at all the points to give some of the authority so you're not literally having to give these guns back. And hopefully I can work with the bill sponsor to address this because it's something that I've been very passionate about. These issues are the number one issues that come up in my community, whether it be town hall, neighborhood meetings with business leaders. So thank you for being here today and your testimony and willingness to work with me.
Further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much. Next witness to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 888. Seeing none. Any other witnesses to testify in favor of Senate Bill 888? Reminder to fill out your forms. 1 minute each, please. You may proceed.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Dan Engelman, again with the Attorney General's office. Want to go on record in support of this legislation. You probably heard Attorney General Hanaway say that fighting violent crime is her number one priority, and this is a good tool in the toolbox, this piece of legislation, to do this. We've been in conversations with prosecutors, with law enforcement, and other interested parties on this issue, and I think it's good policy for the bill, as stated in the bill, for the juvenile officers and the prosecutor to consult to require them to consult on charges that they're bringing. So we stand ready to support our law enforcement and our prosecutors as the bill outlines. Happy to take any questions.
Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much for being here. Next witness to testify in favor, Senate Bill 888.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Rich Aubuchon on behalf of the Missouri Valor Alliance. We're a nonprofit in support of law enforcement and veterans issues throughout the state of Missouri, and we think this is a good change for the state of Missouri for the policy issues.
Thank you. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thanks so much for being here. Next witness to testify in favor or against Senate Bill 888. A reminder, witness form, 1 minute. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Senator Schroer, for filing this bill. My name is Tim Garrison. I represent the Missouri Association of Prosecuting Attorneys and the Missouri Office of Prosecution Services, here to register our support for Senate Bill 888 because it prioritizes community safety and victim safety, as Senator Schnelting added earlier, and accountability regardless of the age of the offender. This bill appropriately elevates the role of prosecutors in the juvenile justice process, adding them to the class of parties who can petition for that transfer. Again, this does not do away with the existing processes now. It simply adds the prosecuting attorney and with that prosecuting attorney a voice for the broader public safety and victim considerations that sometimes don't get the same level of attention when the process is focused on the juvenile offender, which we certainly hope to recidivate and care for appropriately.
Very good. Thank you so much. Questions for the witness? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Next witness to testify in favor or against Senate Bill 888. Seeing none. Anyone here for informational purposes only? 1 minute, please. You may proceed when you are ready.
Well, I thought there might be a chance we go back to the 5 minutes for the first.
Sorry about that. 1 minute.
Eric Jennings, Government Relations Counsel at the Supreme Court, here on behalf of the conference. Excuse me. Here on behalf of the Judicial Conference of Missouri. Want to thank Senator Schroer's time on this, and just wanted to make sure that you knew that we were available as a first resource on a number of issues being covered here. Obviously, the JDTA, the detention process itself, are matters covered by Supreme Court rule and operating rule, also standards promulgated by the Supreme Court. And so to the extent that I can provide information or answer questions on that, I'd like to be able to do that for you. Also on any of the statistics or numbers that are thrown out or questions asked about that, want to make sure that we're able to provide both complete and correct information on that as well. One item I would like to note, and this relates back to a comment made by the governor in his State of the State yesterday, where he talked about this and he said that juveniles would remain in juvenile facilities and continue receiving services, but that this reform would add accountability where it is needed the most. And I would ask for the committee, for the sponsor, for everyone involved as we go through this to not lose sight of something that's normally a little disconnected from this substantive legislation, and that's the juvenile detention centers, the officers, the staff there, the work that they do. And so to the extent that we're making changes on the substantive law side of it, please also be mindful of the budgetary side of that. We have for a number of decades had a number of requests for the juvenile detention centers for juvenile staff. They experience a number of the same pressures and issues that law enforcement does, that the local jails do, that the county jails do. And so to the extent that we're seeking to make sure that these juveniles have resources, we'd like to make sure that those resources are available to them.
Thank you very much. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thanks so much. Next witness to testify either way for informational purposes. Yes. 1 minute, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Senator and Chairman. Appreciate you bringing juvenile justice to the policy agenda. My name is Jeff Barlow, and I'm here on behalf of the Missouri Juvenile Justice Association. Specifically, my intent is to share information, perspectives from the MJJ Policy Committee regarding Senate Bill 888. Our interest is to work collaboratively with you, Senator, and with the committee to make the bill as following the spirit of the bill, but also that it would work in practice. And so we're here as a resource for you. We've got some great statistics, and I'll provide my testimony to shorten it down a little bit, but there are a couple key points that we really want to work with you on. One of those is on the issue of just some cleanup work in data and transparency. MJJ supports information sharing between juvenile courts, prosecutors, and law enforcement. We believe the language could be improved by recognizing the existing systems that are in place. And so we currently have juvenile officers inputting data into the Missouri Judicial Information System, JIS, and Show Me Courts, which is part of statewide court automation. So rather than having the language say juvenile officers should manually share criminal history data with the Uniform Law Enforcement System and Regis, we'd rather to see that language say that the Office of State Courts Administrator and the automated transfer of those records could happen from that system as one of the examples of some of the cleanup language that we would like to support. We also are very much in support of the work that is going on to update the JDTA right now, and we would like to work with you to find a way to utilize that existing tool rather than just to kind of throw it out or make it non-mandatory. 15 years ago, we were at a point where we had widespread disparities across the state. That tool is a validated tool that has been able to allow us to really kind of make it a consistent approach to how we handle juvenile delinquency cases across the state. Supreme Court Rule 129.04 specifically provides standards for its use regarding clear documentation for any decision to override that assessment. And so there is already an existing process to override the use of that assessment.
Thank you. We'll have to wrap up.
Yep. And then the final thing I just point out is that MJJ does not object to changing the language from may to shall regarding the consultation with prosecutors for certification. In fact, most circuits already are doing that, working closely with their prosecutors. We do have some suggestions and some things regarding some cleanup language there as well. So I'll provide that to the committee.
Thank you so
all.
much. Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thanks so much for being here. Next witness to testify for informational purposes. Seeing none, that concludes our hearing on, well, I'm sorry, Senator, any closing remarks? That concludes our hearing on Senate Bill 888. We will now move to hear both Senate Bills 977 and 1011. Senators Schroer and Nicola, you may present together and proceed when you are ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Senator Schroer, District 2, St. Charles County. Presenting Senate Bill 977 today, which makes clear what every Missourian already expects and deserves. That only the U.S. Constitution and the Missouri Constitution will govern our courts, our public agencies, and our legal processes. This is a vital step on the 250th anniversary of America to protect the foundational principles of our republic. In an era where global influences are seeking to erode our sovereignty, this bill ensures that no foreign legal code, including Shari'a Law or any foreign law whatsoever, may be applied or enforced in our state if it conflicts with the most fundamental liberties and rights that we have. Here in Missouri, we want to ensure that our judges do not enforce legal codes developed outside of the U.S. that could dilute or contradict our constitutional principles. We have witnessed across the nation and world how creeping influences from foreign ideologies can infiltrate our judicial systems, often under the guise of cultural sensitivity. The bill is very short, both of them are. It's sweet, carefully crafted to reinforce a common principle that our Constitution is the law of the land, which will not be superseded by foreign laws. Missouri Senate Bill 977 strikes a clear and constitutional balance, protecting our legal system and our fundamental rights without targeting any religion or belief whatsoever. It simply ensures that Missouri law is rooted in Missouri values and the U.S. Constitution, not in foreign legal codes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 1011. I wholeheartedly agree with Senator Schroer's bill as well. They're very similar bills. Senate Bill 1011 reaffirms a foundational principle that in Missouri, the United States Constitution and the Missouri State Constitution are the supreme law of the land. Our fundamental and natural rights must not be overridden by foreign laws or any international organizations. Senate Bill 1011 adds two sections to Missouri law, Section 1.037 and 1.202, both designed to protect Missouri's sovereignty and the constitutional rights of its citizens. First, Section 1.037 037 makes clear that the international organizations such as the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, or any similar entity shall have no jurisdiction or authority within the state of Missouri. As a result, no mandates, policies, regulations, or directives issued by these bodies may be enforced here in this state. Missouri laws should be written by Missourians and enforced by the Missouri courts, not imposed by unelected international entities. Section 1.202, known as the No Shari'a Act, protects our judicial system from the enforcement of foreign laws that conflict with our constitutional rights. This section prohibits Missouri courts from recognizing or enforcing judgments based on Shari'a law or any other foreign law when those laws undermine the protections that are guaranteed by the United States Constitution and the Constitution of Missouri. This issue has been addressed by states across the country. Since 2010, more than 200 similar bills have been introduced in 43 states. Several states, including Alabama, Arizona, Kansas, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Dakota, and Tennessee, have already enacted laws to prevent the application of foreign legal systems that conflict with our constitutional rights. More recently, states like Texas and Florida have taken up similar legislation. Senate Bill 1011 sends a clear message. Missouri will defend its sovereignty, protect constitutional freedoms, and ensure that our legal system reflects American values. Thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, I had invited a very dear friend of mine to come and testimony, but he recently had knee replacement surgery and he's unable to travel. So he sent me a statement that I can read. If it's okay to do it now, or if you want to do it when we have witnesses.
Go ahead.
Right now. So Kamal Salim came to this country in the 1980s. He's a friend of mine. I met him quite a few years ago. And I'll read his statement, but I want to kind of introduce him. He was an ex-Muslim terrorist. He grew up in, actually where my family's from, the country of Lebanon, in a Muslim family. So I'm going to read it from his perspective. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I was born into a Muslim family that practiced Sharia law in Lebanon. At the age of 7, because of those beliefs, I was recruited by the Muslim Brotherhood and used as a child soldier. We came to the United States with the purpose of advancing Islam through Sharia. America will not be destroyed by rockets, airplanes, or explosives alone. Sharia destroys nations through the legal system by using laws and courts to replace freedom. We can see this clearly in other Western nations. In Birmingham, England, Sharia zoning exists after Sharia was permitted by the government. There are areas where non-Muslims cannot enter without permission from an imam, and those areas are policed by Sharia authorities. The same pattern exists in parts of Germany and France, what I call a state within a state. These areas are physically inside those nations but operate under Islamic authority, not national law. We must learn from what is already happening abroad before it happens here, and I would add my own words, it's already happening here in states like Minnesota and Michigan as well, and in parts of Texas. The greatest strength of America is freedom. I see lawmakers, soldiers, and public servants who have fought to protect that freedom. The question before us is simple. After all that sacrifice, why would we allow that freedom to be taken away? What kind of nation will we leave to our children? One of freedom or one of submission? That choice belongs to all of us. People from all over the world come to America seeking our freedoms. So we must ask, why would we change our laws and bylaws to accommodate foreign legal systems or constitutions? Sharia law is not simply a religious practice, it is a complete legal system. The constitutions for Muslims worldwide. It dictates how they must live. Under Sharia doctrine, a Muslim who does not follow it is not considered a true believer. Islamic sources such as the Hadith and the Bukhari teach that one cannot please Allah without jihad. Sharia is built on two foundations, the Quran and the Sunnah. The Sunnah consists of the Hadith, that is what Muhammad said Muslims must do, and his biography, which records what he did. When Sharia courts or imams are recognized, their rulings must reflect these sources. They are fundamentally incompatible with both the United States and the Missouri state constitutions. In Islamic texts, including Surah 9 and Surah 7, war is waged against Christians and Jews. In the Hadith, atheists are declared killable without judgment. That is Sharia law. When Muslims are empowered to practice Sharia within Western nations, they are permitted to act lawfully according to those commands. This includes acts that directly violate our legal and moral standards. Sharia also places Muslims in a state of jihad, holy war, against any nation that does not allow Sharia to operate legally. If the United States allows or entertains Sharia, it empowers radical Islamists to exercise these beliefs. That includes rape. If a woman is not a Muslim in their kind of Islam, they have the right to rape or even traffic her. Sharia does not arrive all at once. It is introduced gradually through demands for special privileges, requests for special hospital rules and practices by Muslim doctors, asking for Muslim women to be able to swim at a special hour at a university because of their beliefs, or prayer spaces in workplaces that are not equally available to other faiths. This creates discrimination and not freedom. Then Muslims have to defend these establishments. Eventually, Sharia experts are required to adjudicate what Muslims may or may not do, and the legal system begins to shift away from equal treatment under the law. I want to be clear, I love my people, the Muslims. They are my family. If you want to help Muslims in America, help them to adhere to the United States Constitution. That is what truly sets people free. Assimilation, not separation, is what allows future generations to thrive, just as it has for other groups that have come to this country. Finally, I remind you of the Holy Land Foundation trial in Dallas, Texas. This was a major federal terrorism financing case involving the Muslim Brotherhood. Evidence seized by the American institutions, charities, and legal systems to undermine Western civilization from within and to establish an Islamic state governed by Sharia. This strategy includes deception, manipulation of language, infiltration of organizations, and the eventual replacement of constitutional law with Islamic law. Members of this committee, this is not speculation. It is happening elsewhere. It has been documented here. The question before us is whether we will act in time. Thank you for your attention. And committee, thank you so much for the time to read his letter and for me to present Senate Bill 1011. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the senators? Seeing none, we're going to have to move real quick. We're about out of time. I'm limiting witnesses to 1 minute. The first witness in favor, please come up. Seeing none. Any witnesses to testify in opposition? As a reminder, it is limited to 1 minute or less. We will have to strictly adhere to get out of here in time. Please proceed when you're ready.
Good morning, committee. My name is Tyler Travers here, registered lobbyist on behalf of the Missouri chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union. Just want to go on record in opposition.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Senator Berger.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me why you're in opposition?
So the ACLU, their primary objection is just they believe that singling out one religion, you might run into First Amendment issues.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the witness? Seeing none, thanks so much for being here. Next witness to testify in opposition. As a reminder, it is limited to 1 minute or less. You may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Brian Kaler, and I'm a Baptist minister who leads Word and Way, a Christian nonprofit here in Missouri since 1896. And to echo just a little bit what was said in answer is I find this bill to be highly problematic because of the targeting and the rhetoric that we've even heard here in the hearing of one religious tradition. It doesn't actually change anything, right? We already expect our courts and judges to follow the Missouri and U.S. constitutions. This doesn't actually change the standards. But it's worse than being a solution in search of a problem. This is bigotry in search of a problem. This is an anti-Muslim attack. It is demonizing citizens here in our state. And, you know, we heard a number of verses read from the Quran. We could also read verses from the Christian Bible. Franklin Graham preached at a Christian worship service at the Pentagon last month and proclaimed a God of war. I'm actually much more concerned as a Christian about Christian nationalism and its influence in our country than I am about Shari'a law. And so this is a very problematic bill. I hope that you all will push against it. And honestly, I mean, if we're concerned about international religious laws, that would also describe the Ten Commandments, by the way. Both religious laws as well as Mount Sinai is international. And so I found that interesting to see all this rhetoric. So again, I'm happy to take any questions, but I urge you to vote against this bill. It's unnecessary, and I think it's demonizing members of our state.
Questions for the witness?
No, just to make a comment, Mr. Chair. I think there's a difference between religious principles and a different legal system, trying to merge that into our system. I think that there's a big difference between taking the principles, for instance, let's say of the Ten Commandments, just since you use that example, to voluntarily adhere to those versus a legal code that's being introduced from a foreign place. So I would just register that with that comment with the committee.
Any other questions or comments for the witness? Seeing none, thank you so much. Next witness to testify in opposition. Seeing none. Anyone here to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none, this concludes the hearing on Senate Bills 977 and 1011. Thank you. We are, do I say we're adjourned? Motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.